Hi, welcome to Body of Wisdom Yoga. I'm Cheri Weber, and today we're going to be focusing this practice on finding some grounding, that rooting through your feet, rooting through connection of different parts of your body, so you find that length and strength and connect to your breath. We'll need one, if not two blocks for you, so grab those before you come, and we will start in a child's pose. I'll go ahead and get started in a child's pose. But let's take our time getting there and start in a nice slow cat pose to really get that space between our vertebrae and hip crease. So we'll tuck your chin, press down and forward, and feel as if each vertebrae is pressing through the skin on your back as you slowly sink your hips back into that child's pose, creating a little space still between your hip flexors. Maybe walk your feet a little bit wider and let your whole core sink between your knees. Just take a nice big inhale and then just kind of melt into the mat for a moment, just letting yourself arrive and just check in. And using that beginner's mind to just settle in and bring your focus to your mat. Just for the next little bit, you're just focusing inward on your breath and on your body. And then slowly make this a little bit more of a woken up pose by pressing into the tops of your feet and shins and just gently pressing into your hands. Allow your inhale to slowly make your diaphragm press down towards your sit bones. And then as you slowly exhale through your nose, feel that draw back up. Let's take 2 more breaths just like that, feeling your whole rib cage engage and inflate from the sides, the front, and the back, and letting that exhale be just as slow and soft. And at the bottom of that exhale, slowly press into the feet and shins and feel yourself shifting forward towards table, walking your hands out just a little. You're going to pull your hip creases forward and slowly lowering down into kind of a chaturanga, and then drive your hands. Feel that grounding press into the mat, round through that cat, and feel your hips sink back to that child's pose. So just envisioning your whole core and side body lengthening out of those hip sockets, dropping low, lengthening those hip flexors, and driving into those hands. We'll do that 3 more times to your breath. So just starting to link your breath to your movement, letting your breath be your anchor. And then exhale slowly, coming back. And then one last time, seeing if you can kind of drag your spine just a little longer, lower, and pause, and then drive into those hands and slowly coming back into that child's pose. We'll walk your hands over to your right, reach that left hand just a little bit farther, and take your right hand to that left wrist and just kind of gently pull it. Take that breath and fill up the whole left side of your body as you shift your hips over to the left heel. Taking one more breath there. Again, belly button to spine, keeping that nice and strong and long. And then slowly walking it over to the other side. Reach that right hand a little farther than you think. That left hand takes your right wrist. Fill up your whole side body into your lower right back. And then slowly shift over to your right hip heel as if you can find some more length. And then let's shift into table. Bring those knees underneath your hips, wrists underneath your shoulders, and use those hands to draw your heart through. Feel the shoulder blades slide down your spine and your sit bones separate, and then tucking your chin. Again, feeling each vertebrae split through the skin up towards the ceiling, hollowing out the belly. And just a couple more. Moving to your breath. Again, allowing that breath to be your anchor. And again, just that beginner's mind, just checking out what's new, what's different, And then as you come into cat, let's tuck the toes and hover the shins and just kind of send your hips back to your heels, getting that, waking up the base of your feet, your toes, the Achilles, and then slowly shift into this bear pose. We'll start to engage that core and build some heat. Let's press down into your hands and draw it back towards your toes, and your toes and knees kind of dragging towards your wrists. Kind of widen the mat and just feel all those muscles turn on, and then come back to that breath. Slowly inhaling and slowly exhaling. And then slowly press it back to this bear pose. Check out your arms. Press into the palms so that rooting down is going to feel a little lift in the forearms. Your chest is going to drop towards your thighs. And then just drive into that left foot like you're really trying to make an imprint. Feel the glute and quad engage as you lengthen that left leg. And then deep bend in both knees, and same thing. You're just really using the muscles to drive that leg a little bit straighter. And then come up high on both toes, deep bend in both knees, and back to that first down dog. Pressing out through the heels. Your heels are heavy even if they don't touch the ground. See if you can engage your quads and hamstrings. And then slowly take one more breath in and out. And then very deliberately walk your hands back, feeling the weight shift on your hands. So your shoulders start to wake up. Hands back to feet, deep bend in the knees, and we'll take Padagustasana, so 2-finger grip to the big toes. Take a second to really pull them up, feel your shoulders engage, and then press down. Tuck your chin, let your head hang long, and your shoulders lift towards your waist as you drive both feet into the ground, lengthening your hamstrings by engaging your quads. Take another breath in and hollow out the belly, and then slowly release. We'll drop your hips coming into a chair pose, but let's take the creases of your hands, or the heels of your hands, and press right into those hip creases. Notice when you press down, you're going to feel a little elongation in that low back, that L4, L5 vertebrae. We're going to do a couple cat-cows here, so tilt the tailbone out, and then keep pressing and resisting as you try and come into the cat, which isn't going to really work, but you're going to feel those rectus abs kind of pull you up and lengthen. Tilt the tailbone as you inhale, and then exhale, kind of round. Keep pressing into your feet and your thighs. One more time. And then slowly lift your hands. We'll come to that Utkatasana chair pose. Keep driving into your feet. Feel as if there's a block between your biceps. Maybe your gaze is up just a little, and check back into that core. And then slowly press to stand, driving your feet into the mat. Lift up. So this Urdhva Hastasana, it's easy to let those ribs splay. See if you can feel that wrapping around the transverse abs, the obliques, and just feel that wrapping as you lift your arms up. And let's drop that right hand down, finding length on that left side body. And then inhale, float that arm up. That same thing, left hand down, reach up with that right. Just finding length, finding grounding. And then inhale, reach up. Keeping those ribs drawn down in the front, feel the heart open, shoulder blades lifting. Inhale, press up. With that strong, long core, let's slowly fold back over and make your way back out to your plank pose. Just take a moment in plank, pressing into the heels of the hands, drag it back towards your toes. Press out through your heels and the crown of your head as you exhale. And then again, feel that long ab muscle holding you up on the front side. Take one more breath in, can always drop to your knees, and then lower to your forearms. We'll slowly lower down. Untuck the toes, reach your hands behind you. Notice how your shoulder heads kind of roll down. Press into the tops of your hands and feel them lift. Feel the shoulder blades draw in and down towards your waist. Crown of the head is long, and keep pressing. Feel the back engage. Come back to that breath. Slow inhale, inflating the whole rib cage. And then as you exhale, create that little bit of space between the mat and your belly. Maybe float your toes. Take another breath in. Find a little more length. And then reach your hands around. You're setting up for a cobra pose. It's almost like a little grasshopper. Press down and peel the mat back, and just slowly peel up, coiling from that sternum. And then lengthen as you lower. We'll come up to Sphinx pose onto your forearms. Same thing, so that grounding down. It's easy to dump in. You want to press down and lift up and out. We'll pull that heart through. And then as you root into the forearms and shins, we'll come into this tabletop pose again to kind of engage that core, belly button to spine. Hold here for a full breath cycle. And let's move a little dynamically. Inhale, really lengthening the core, peel open to Sphinx. And then exhale, round into that tabletop cat, hips over the knees. And one more time, really pull through. Slow breath in through the nose and letting that go. And shifting back, maybe coming into playful puppy, letting the heart, maybe the chin, maybe the forehead drop. Take another full breath in and exhale. Slowly sink back to that child's pose. Again, just for a moment to reset, just notice the difference. Again, checking out with that beginner's mind, what feels different, what subtle changes can you make. And then we'll press to table. Tuck the toes, hips up and back to your down dog. Pausing here, checking this out. Again, arms are lifting as your chest drops towards your thighs. Take a full breath in, and we'll come up onto the toes. Deep bend in the knees. And really deliberately, we're going to walk right foot, or one foot in front of the other. Feeling all parts of the foot wake up as it touches on the mat. There's so much information in there. And step your feet wide, hip distance apart. Take your hands right to your shins. Press your shins back and press your shins into your hands so you feel this space between the vertebrae. Your shoulder blades are going to lift towards your spine to hold you up. That exhale is going to, and deep abs are going to support and lengthen your low back and belly. Take another breath here. And then slowly keep that length and fold forward. Let your head hang, tuck your chin. Take your hands, press them into your feet so you really feel that grounding. And then root down, inhale, reach up. We'll come to that Urdhva Hastasana again. Almost like you're in a little cylinder, feeling those ribs draw down. Reaching up again, let's drop that right hand down, left hand up. Inhale, float your right arm up. And then exhale, other side. Both arms up. And then let's slowly just peel open, maybe leaning back a little, and inhale, reaching up. Strong core as you exhale and fold. We'll sink into that chair one more time. Sit low and reach high. We'll come up onto the toes, feel those quads start to engage, and slowly press to stand and drop the heels. Hands right to your heart. Samasti Tahi. So doing a little challenge with your mind, we're going to walk to the back of the mat, that right foot behind left, left foot behind right, all the way back to the mat, keeping your focus, your drishti out front, and then stepping your feet hip distance apart at the back. You're going to inhale, sweep your arms up, and then exhale, fold forward, walk it back out to plank. So we're just looking at the vinyasa a little bit different, kind of coming it from the backside. Take a big breath in. You can either drop to your knees or through plank, and slow as you can, lower down. You're going to untuck the toes, pull your heart through as you take that inhale, and then exhale and lower. Again, tuck the toes or on your knees, press through table or plank, and hips are up and back to down dog. Take a full breath in. And exhale, really let that go. Find the lift, find the connection in your core. One more full breath cycle there. And then come up high on the toes, deep bend in the knees. You can walk, step, or float to the top. You'll lift and lengthen, Ardha Utkatasana. And then exhale, keep that length and fold. Again, drive into those feet. Inhale, reach up. This time, find steeple clasp. And then side stretch over to your right and flip the palms out. Inhale, use that core to come on back up. Side stretch over to your left and flip the palms out. Inhale, come on up. Exhale, peel open. This time, clasp your hands behind your back. Open up the heart and deep bend in the knees and fold forward. Driving just that left leg or right leg straight, lengthen and open. And then come back again, deep bend in both knees, pressing the other leg straight. So really feel that leg lengthen because you're driving that foot into the mat. And then slowly come back. Utkatasana, chair pose. Up onto the toes as an option, press to stand, and Samasti Tahi. We'll do that again. So right foot behind left, have to look forward. Left foot behind right, finding your drishti, that intention, that focus. It's like it's on a balance beam. And then stepping the feet wide. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, keep that spine long and slow and controlled. Empty the lungs. Walk it back out to your plank as you're inhaling, and then slowly ride that whole exhale out, table or plank. Inhaling, opening to your cobra, possibly an up dog, and then make your way back to your down dog. Let's take 3 breaths there again. Just checking out what might be something you can change slightly. Coming back to your focus, feel the grounding in your hands and feet. And then come up high on your toes, deep bend in the knees. Step or float to the top. Lift and lengthen halfway, monkey pose. Exhale, fold. Root down, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. It's time a little tricep stretch. Take hold of that left elbow, draw it up, and side stretch over. Inhale, slowly come on up. Switch your sides, and side stretch the other way. Full breath in. Reach up, peel open, clasp your hands, maybe that other thumb on top, find length in those arms, and slowly fold forward, deep bend in the knees. This time bend, press both legs straight, slowly, and then release. Inhale to your chair, up on the toes, press to stand, and Samasti Tahi. Last time, adding an extra challenge. If you want to close your eyes, keep that gaze, drishti forward at that third eye, and slowly, left behind right, right behind left. Same thing, all the way to the back of the mat. We'll inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Walk it out to your plank as you inhale, and then ride that exhale all the way out, hugging those biceps in, lengthening and coiling into that heart opener, and then hips up and back to down dog. Take 3 breaths there. Checking out how you feel grounded, how you feel longer. And then again, very intentionally walk your hands back to meet your feet. You can repeat that Padangusthasana or take that deep bend in the knees and your hands right underneath your feet. So the toes are right on those wrist creases for Padahastasana. Let's tuck your chin, let your head hang long, and then really press into those hands so much so that you just feel the muscles drawing your legs longer, rather than using just those joints, maybe squeezing the elbows in a little and playing with a little shift forward and backward. And then let's slowly release the hands, lift and lengthen halfway, and fold. Root down, rise up. You're in that Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale right to your mountain pose. Take a breath in and just really find that grounding. Maybe coming up onto the ball mounds and then the heels, lifting the toes, setting the toes down individually, just playing with this grounded feeling. And then take your hands right to your hips, press down. So you're grounding in, and then you want to lift and lengthen that core up and out. Find length in that L4, L5 vertebrae. And then slowly come back to that mountain pose. We're going to take a block and place it right between your feet. You're going to step that left foot up on the block and find that mountain pose, that standing mountain pose, and that opposite, the right foot is just there for a little bit of balance. So find this mountain pose. It's easy to dump, it's easy to bend or open. Again, ribs are closed. Shoulder and chest are lifted, crown of the head is lifted, and you're engaging, squeezing that right glute. We'll inhale, reach up without much movement to that Urdhva Hastasana, and exhale into this Ardha Utkatasana, half chair, palms down, thumbs out. Again, that right foot's there just for balance. You're gonna drive that foot into the block, and again, feel that grounding to press up, and then slowly exhale back down. Inhale, press up. Exhale, press back down. And then last time, inhale. This time as you come, you can hold maybe hands to your heart, maybe a little lighter on that toe, or maybe come up into a crane pose. Feeling that spread out into that foot on the block, hugging your shin in and kind of pressing your shin into your hand to getting a little bit more grounding. Option to play here by drawing open. Finding that gazing point, that drishti, and then slowly coming back. setting it down nice and slowly. Let's bend both knees deeply and inhale, reach up. One more time, we'll find that clasp behind you. Knuckles reach down, heart opens, and then slowly fold forward. We'll drive that foot into the block again and notice how it lengthens that upper outer hip and hamstring, and just kind of let it rotate you open. Inhale, come back. Press up. And hands right to your heart. Find that mountain pose. Same thing, other side. Drive that foot into the block. Find that equal standing pose. Find that connection in your core. Hands to the side. And inhale up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Ardha Utkatasana. Palms down, thumbs out. Drive that block like you're pressing it through the floor. And then inhale, come back. Notice how your ribs stay connected down. Keep them like that as you reach up. And then slowly, last time, and drive into that block, maybe a little lighter on the standing toes, or maybe floating up into that crane. Again, shin into hand and hand into shin, and maybe draw that open, coming back into squeezing that glute, contracting your core, and coming back to that anchor point, your breath. And then slowly set that leg down. We'll inhale, reach up, clasp the hands, find that behind you, and deep bend in the knees again. Again, drive that block through the mat and let it lengthen your leg, and let yourself rotate open. Feel that opening in the upper outer hip and hamstring. And then slowly release. Step your foot wide. And then we'll take the blocks, walk them to the front of the mat, and step into plank pose. Hold in this plank for a moment, and then press back to down dog. Just take a full and a cleansing breath, big breath in. Just let that go. And let's float your right leg up in the air. Press it, keeping the toes pointing down, your hips squared. Use that right glute and hamstring to lift a little higher. Maybe bend the leg, come up onto the left toes, and then slowly pause in that knee to nose. Press a little higher and send your foot between your hands. Pause in this runner's lunge. Maybe grab the blocks for a little bit of height. And again, press down. Use that as grounding. And you're going to pull your heart through as you drop your left hip flexor. And then you're going to drive into that front foot, down and forward, pressing into this long pyramid, and pause. Maybe kickstand the foot. Feel, again, your glute. Engage that quad and hamstring. Press through your back heel. And pause. Lengthen. And then we'll move a little dynamically. Inhale, shift forward, runner's lunge. Exhale, drive down and forward. Long pyramid. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Just set the blocks a little aside. Step it back to plank and press to down dog. Float your left leg up. Again, same thing, keeping the hips square. Lift a little higher, maybe bend, and come up high on the right toes, keeping all that height. Tuck the knee to nose. Look between your hands. Press into the heels of the hands a little more and find that space. You can step forward, just kind of wiggling, but looking there is going to get your mind-body connection a little more. Maybe using the blocks again. Press down, drag back. Open up that heart for that runner's lunge. And then again, press down and forward like you're driving into that block. And draw the toes towards you. Press through the back heel. Pause there, that long pyramid pose. And then again, let's move dynamically to your breath. Inhaling, opening up. Strong exhale and pressing down and forward. Inhale and exhale. And then shift forward, frame that foot, step it back to that 3-limb plank, and slowly lower and press to down dog. We'll come up high on the toes, deep bend in the knees, and step or float to the top. You'll find that Utkatasana chair pose. Inhale here, and slowly bring your hands right to your heart and fold into this half chair. You're going to press that left hand right into the right so hard that you're going to hover and rotate. Hover a little farther, and then that left elbow comes outside of the right. Find that heart opening, dropping the hips, and really find that grounding of your arm into leg, leg into arm, hands into each other. And then inhale, same thing. Setting back up in that Ardha Utkatasana, finding your grounding. Notice when you press the hands together, the shoulders engage, and then Drive your leg out into your arm, arm into leg. Take that breath in and out. We'll inhale, press to stand. Exhale, fold forward. We'll step it back to plank. If you want to add a vinyasa, feel free. We'll go straight back to down dog. We'll add on here, right leg reaches up. The same movement pattern, knee to nose. Inhale, reach up and back. Exhale, step it forward. Gonna float that back knee down and lift up to that low lunge. Check out this kind of 90-degree angle, and you're gonna squeeze that front heel back and squeeze that front knee forward with those ribs connected, peel open. Then you're gonna lift up and hug those hips together as you sink back to half splits. If you wanna bring blocks, feel free, or fingertips on the ground. Again, pressing down and dragging back, engaging this right glute. And then we'll move dynamically. Inhale, shift forward. That same movement pattern, pressing down and forward and sinking back half splits. One more time. Inhale, press up, peel open, and then hug the hips, shift back. Frame the foot, step it back long enough to make that plank a pose, and hips up and back to down dog. Just a breath in and a breath out to cleanse that. And float that leg up high on the left toes. Find that rounding, that cat shape, that same movement pattern. Right leg or left leg between. We'll drop the back knee, untuck the toes, and reach up. Squeeze the heel towards the knees. Find that connection, your breath. And then peel open, leaning from the sternum back. And then inhale, we'll reach up. Gonna hug those hips and shift back again into that half splits. So press into that heel, kind of engaging by pulling towards each other. And then again, we'll move dynamically. Inhale, root down, lift up, peel open. Press up, reach up, hug, and shift back. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Shift forward, tuck the toes, back to plank, back to down dog. A breath in and a breath out. And we'll come up high on the toes and step forward, finding that Utkatasana chair pose, maybe building it from even a little lower. Press into that chair pose and slowly press to stand. One more time, exhale, half chair. We'll do that. And then last time, pausing, reaching up, and then slowly, ribs to thigh, forward fold. Lift and lengthen. Make your way back to your plank, long enough to make it a pose, and decide you can go through vinyasa and lower down, opening up on that back bend, and hips up and back to down dog. You can always drop into child's pose or just straight back to down dog. Pause there for a breath. We'll add on that right leg reaches up. Round it knee to nose. Inhale, press and reach it up and back, and we'll step it forward again. We're gonna find this high lunge by starting in leaning high lunge. Fingertips back, palms down, thumbs out. Again, notice how these ribs and hips really connect. It's holding you up on the front side. The shoulder blades are finding you, that length on the back. And then just stack the shoulders over the hips. Reach your arms up. Maybe a little bit of internal rotation for those pinky side to be there, and pause. Connecting that core, connecting back to your breath. So creating these imprints of what this pose should feel like as we move dynamically. And then we'll exhale into leaning. Inhale to high lunge. Exhale to leaning. And inhale to high lunge. And then we'll bring those blocks with us and kind of glide right into Warrior 3, but let's start with this leg bent and feel what it's like to grow into Warrior 3 by driving into that standing foot, using those blocks as more grounding, and then reach back into that high lunge. We're gonna frame the foot. We'll step it back to plank and hips up and back to down dog. Just a breath in and a breath out to reset. Your left leg floats up. Bring it forward, round it knee to nose, find that height. Step, find that foundation. Fingertips back, palms down, thumbs out. Feel that length and strength from heel to crown of the head. Feel that front side holding you up, the shoulders lifting you. And then make your way to your high lunge. Pausing there, come back to that breath, find that stillness. And then exhale again. Lengthen that core into that leaning lunge. Inhale, high lunge. Exhale, leaning. And then we'll grow right into that bent leg, supported warrior three. So you can feel that driving into that standing leg, lifting that raised leg back like it's standing on the wall behind you. And then bend that leg. Land as lightly as you can in your high lunge. And slowly frame the foot. We'll step it back to your plank and hips up and back to down dog. Take a breath in and out. One last time, we'll come up on the toes. Step to the knee, top. Find that chair pose. Sit low, reach high. And we're gonna hold for 3 full breaths up on the toes. Feel those quads working. Come back to your slow breath, connecting the core. And we'll slowly press to stand. Pause there. And slowly fold forward. Lift and lengthen. Step it back. Long enough, again, you decide, plank to down dog, or you can add in your vinyasa. Just moving intentionally to your breath. And pause there for a breath. Right leg reaches up. Step it forward. Slowly build to that high lunge. Exhale into that leaning. Glide into that warrior three or supported warrior three, driving into that leg. And then we'll inhale, either tapping down or not, we'll come back to that crane pose like we did on block. Draw the knee open, and you can option for tree pose. You can kickstand that inner shin or up on that inner thigh, and finding your resistance at midline, your grounding. Taking a breath in and breath out. Maybe the arms raise, and maybe your eyes close. And slowly back to that mountain pose. Lift and lengthen, step it back, and hips up and back to down dog. So take a breath in, let that breath go, and your left leg floats up. You're gonna find that height by grounding into the hands, place that left foot between. Find that high lunge, and just one time, find that leaning. We'll grow right into that warrior three. Fingertips on the block and drive into that left leg. Both legs are long and strong. And then either tapping down or coming right up into crane pose. It's that one-legged mountain, one-legged Tadasana. And we'll draw that knee open, keeping your gazing point out in front, and then either sole of the foot in kickstand or maybe up a little higher, and finding your grounding through that foot, through the sole of the foot into the thigh, and maybe the heels of the hands together. Arms can reach up. Come back to your slow inhale and slow exhale. And then back to crane, back to warrior three through that high lunge, and step it back. Hips up and back to down dog. And then let's slowly shift forward, hover, dropping the knees. We'll open it up with a cow and come through cat all the way back to child's pose just for a moment to settle in, to check back in before we put that together. As you press into your shins, come to table. Tuck the toes, hips up and back to down dog. We'll put all of those things together. So we created those imprints of how things should feel, and then we'll use those movement patterns, moving to our breath. So let's float your right leg up, round it knee to nose, find that height, place it between your hands. You're in your runner's lunge. We'll drop your left hip, open your heart, and drive that front foot forward into long pyramid. Slowly shifting back forward, float your back knee down, root down, and lift up as you peel open and sink in, getting that bend in your front ankle. Press down and forward, hug the hips, shift back, half splits. Look forward, step forward onto the left foot, tuck the toes, leaning high lunge. Inhale up to your high lunge. Exhale into leaning, grow into that warrior three. And inhale up to crane. Hugging the shin in, draw it open, and find your tree. Notice that calm after the chaos. We've been here before. And inhale back to crane. Exhale through warrior three. Land as lightly as you can in your high lunge and reach up. We'll frame your foot. Step it back to plank and press to down dog as you really let that breath go. And then the other side, left leg floats. Come up high onto the toes. Find that height. Look between your hands. Place the foot there. Open up into that runner's lunge. Drive into that long pyramid, maybe a little kickstand. Shift forward, lightly drop your back knee, and root down to lift up into that low lunge and peel open. Press up, reach up, feel that core stay long and strong as you shift back, half splits. And then step onto your left foot, tuck the toes, coming right into that leaning high lunge. Inhale up to that high lunge, and one more time into leaning as you glide right into that supported warrior three or warrior three. Inhaling up to your crane, drawing the knee open, and finding Vrikshasana tree. So that steadiness after the movement. Inhale back to crane. Exhale, step it back through warrior three. Land lightly in high lunge. Frame that foot. Step it back to plank. And hips up and back to down dog. Take a breath in and a breath out. And then we'll slowly come up onto your toes and step forward, that right foot outside of that right hand, left foot outside of left, and drop your hips into that yoga malasana, either on a block or just dropping down. So you want to root down. It's easy to kind of dump in. See what happens when you root into the heels and find that length, using the arms to press open and the legs to press in. So finding all that length. And get a nice little neck stretch here, right ear to right shoulder, left ear to left shoulder. And then keeping all that strength, reach up like Urdhva Hastasana and drive, and slowly press up to stand, using those glutes to just squeeze, press, using those feet to press down, turn the toes towards me, and exhale, fold forward. We'll step that right leg back. Wiggle it farther than you think, and we'll drop the back knee, turn the toes out, and we'll come into lizard lunge, either hands on the floor, maybe blocks, or maybe down onto your forearms. Taking a breath in, and really let your exhales be slower here, so it really starts to calm the nervous system. And again, just come back to that beginner mind, seeing what happens side to side if you have a little movement. And then maybe coming up onto that right hand. Reach that left arm around as if there's a bowling ball in it. You can option to bend that leg, maybe grabbing that foot. If that works, looking to lengthen that right hip flexor and breathe into that belly of your right quad. So kicking the foot into hand, that's your grounding point. And on your hand, not collapsing into the shoulder. And then slowly release. We'll shift back just for a half splits. If you like to go into a full splits, that's a great time. We've worked those hamstrings. And then slowly shifting forward. Reach forward, we'll step into that malasana again. Let those heels be strong, the hips be heavy, and your spine be long. Let's just find a little rounding in the back. Tuck the chin and reach out. Press into those fingertips and use that breath to kind of come right underneath the skin of your back, creating some space. And then slowly stretch the legs straight, step your left leg back. Again, wiggling into that lizard lunge farther than you think, kind of feeling the femur bones just lengthen out of those hip sockets and turn the toes out, coming onto those forearms or blocks, whatever works. And just finding a little bit of movement, a little bit of release as you settle into stillness. Maybe resting your head on your thumbs to just relax. And using that exhale to calm the nervous system. And then we'll come up again, ground into the heel of that left hand to strengthen that shoulder. Reach your right arm around, take that breath in, and this arm is just heavy And maybe bend that leg. If you get that foot, really kick that foot into the hand. Again, that grounding point creates some action, activation, and use that breath, creating a space, and slowly release. And we'll shift back to that half splits. Big breath in, pull the right hip socket back, lengthen in your spine and fold, tucking the chins, your chin, and press down and drag back to get a little more kind of that monkey in your spine. And then we'll shift forward one more time into Malasana, just sinking heavy. Let's walk the fingertips forward and take your triceps, find this grounding point. Really gonna press in and just notice how that feels. And then hands on the ground, and we'll come up onto your toes. This is just a great stretch and core work. If you wanna hold here, this is great. If you wanna stay in Malasana, or option to see if you can keep that gaze going forward and just float the toes. That grounding is giving you that lift in your hands, taking a breath in and slowly lowering back down. Pausing there for a breath in and breath out. Let's slowly lower down onto the sit bones. Your feet are out in front of you. Ground down into your feet so it's kind of holding you. You feel your glutes turn on. And as slow as you can, roll down onto your back. Just let everything go. Feel everything let go. Walk your toes or your heels in. And press into the backs of your arms and the back of your head and your feet, and feel your hips just slowly float up. Pressing your hips towards the ceiling for Setu Bandhasana. Maybe your hands clasp behind you and kind of wiggle your shoulders underneath to really open up those collarbones. Press into your head so your chin's away from your chest, but at the same time your sternum is kind of chasing your chin. And pausing there. Again, hugging the knees in. Slow breaths in and out. Release the clasp if you have it. Keep the hips high and just roll down vertebrae by vertebrae. Maybe take a little arch in the tailbone and slowly round it back. And then let's bring your feet mat distance apart. Let's drop that left knee in, and we'll take your right ankle on top of that left knee. It's going to extend your hip flexor, maybe reach that left arm over your head, but still take your hand to this low left rib and see if you can kind of draw it down, creating some more space in that shoulder and breathing in. And slowly coming back, set your right foot down, let your right knee drop in and forward, really lengthening your right hip flexor, and take your left ankle on top of your right knee. Slowly letting go, take your left hand to your left rib and just gently draw it down as you reach your right hand up and over. Taking a couple breaths in here and letting that go. And then inhale, slowly come back up. Let's hug your knees in and rock forward to seated. Bring your hands right next to your side. Find that grounding, find that lift in your spine, and let's tuck your chin. Feel that release in the upper traps and the base of your neck, and just take 2 breaths in there. Softening your gaze, your jaw. Slowly float your head up. Find that upper half of Urdhva Hastasana, lifting nice and long out of your waist, and keep that length and slowly fold forward. Might grab your knees, maybe your shins or ankles, or maybe your feet. Wherever you're at, find that length first, like a monkey pose, and then lower just a little more, and then maybe let your head hang to just traction the upper back. Taking big inhales and exhales is going to create some space all the way down, crown of the head to the waist. And then slowly start to stack your spine. Head's the last thing to come up, and then slowly come down onto your back. Kind of wiggle your shoulders under to create a little height, and let your palms fall to the side, your feet fall to the side. And take one last really intentional inhale, inflating the whole perimeter of your body, almost like an air mattress being filled up. And then really let it deflate and sink you into the mat. And just settle in for your Shavasana. allowing your eyes to be heavy, your jaw and tongue to be soft, and just melt out into the mat. And slowly just start to bring your awareness to the whole perimeter of your body, almost like it's got a little energy field around it, and breathe into that. And then exhale, let that go out into your space. Reach your arms long over your head, maybe a little arch in the low back, and then slowly draw those low ribs down, hugging in one knee at a time. Just nice tight little ball rocking side to side, and just settling over onto your right side with your arm underneath your head. And just allow that to kind of settle into the tissue, this feeling you've created. And gently press your way to seated. We'll bring your hands right to your heart center. Feel a little lift of your sternum and the softness in your shoulders. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Just let it go. And bow your head. Thank you for showing up for yourself and sharing your energy. Namaste.